Hello there, this is James, and you're watching Tixee Live. And a very good morning to all of you, and all of you a very happy Friday. In today's program, I just really want to do a sort of follow on from one of the stories we were talking about yesterday in relation to Tesla and how the storm clouds seem to be gathering for the EV maker. Plus, a hurdle in the way of Microsoft and how that can potentially affect the market. And obviously a follow-up from yesterday's S&P story, whether or not S&P has indeed managed to end its 5-day losing streak. But before we get into all of that, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence. And of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out of the way, let's get started. So yeah, again, like I said, we talked about this yesterday, okay, about the situation with Tesla at the moment. And it does seem to me, and indeed to the market, that Tesla's troubles are beginning to mount up. Now, don't forget, they face slowing demand in China, which is damaging their Shanghai factory. Don't forget, Bloomberg did a report that they're about to halve the work shifts to cut down on supply because demand is waning in China. Plus, a top executive has been called in to help with its Texas facility as it's underperforming. And don't forget, it's not been a good year at all for Tesla, at all, or for a number of big tech companies for that matter. But Tesla in particular has suffered quite badly. And like I say, it's lost more than 500 billion in value so far this year. 500 billion in value this year. Now, the other problem we've got going on is faith. There's beginning to be a lack of faith in Musk. Because there's like we said yesterday, there is really a number of issues, okay, where a number of shareholders are concerned that Musk's priorities are too focused on Twitter. Now, don't forget, he's working all hours apparently at Twitter. He's actually sleeping at the San Francisco office, apparently. So he's not even going home. So they are really greatly concerned that obviously his attention on Twitter is greatly damaging Tesla. And with all the other hurdles that Tesla is facing, it's not helping at all. In fact, Leo Kogan, one of Tesla's largest shareholders, he says the Tesla board is missing in action because there's just not enough action going on with it. And like I say, Tesla's investor, another big investor, Ross Gerber, he's calling for another director to be added to the board to help them get through these troubling times. Hi. Musk seems to be everywhere in the news. Hi there, ruler. He is. He's always in the news. He's everywhere, isn't he? Constantly. It's what happens when you have, apparently the world's richest man on the planet for now. But like I say, he does get everywhere. And like I say, since we've been doing these Tixee Live shows, I've done so many videos on him, which I didn't want to do. But unfortunately, it's market orientated and there's no getting away from it. No getting away from it at all. So yeah, like I said, they're adding for another director to be added to it. Adding to this as well, advisors are considering using Musk's shares in Tesla as collateral for new loans to replace the Twitter debt. So they're looking for a buyback on some of his shares as well. So it's not a full-blown mutiny, but obviously there is a lot of very unhappy or uncertain people who are shareholders of Teslas. We've obviously suffered a lot this year because, like I said, we've lost 500 billion in value, are greatly looking at their options to try and prop up the EV maker. What Musk had to say about the situation. Hi. Hello there to you too. Hi, how you doing? Hope you're well. What Musk had to say about the situation is, again, is his typical self. He says he's got a lot on his plate. Obviously, we said that. He said that before, but he basically said, I continue to oversee, apparently, both Tesla and SpaceX, but the teams there are so good that often little is needed from me. That's not what they think. The shareholders don't think that, do they? Clearly, they don't think that. As well as that, he went on to say, the Tesla team has done incredibly well despite extremely difficult times. Now, Musk has been blaming, obviously, the European energy crisis, real estate downturn in China, and US interest rates for the challenges. Because obviously, the interest rates, the Fed's been so aggressive with interest rates, there is a lot of fear, obviously, of recession coming. And Musk himself has come out and said there's a recession on its way. So, yeah, he's blaming these situations. Obviously, these are a big part of it. But I think there is a lack of faith with him not at the wheel, so to speak, of Tesla is really damaging the company. Tesla share price is down so far this year by 55.71%. That's frightening. That is really, really, really frightening. And they do have a massive year ahead of them in 2023, because this is the year they're supposed to release their infamous, electric trucks or pickup trucks, etc. So it's about to do a new brand. It's about to start next year. So a lot is riding on it. So, I guess there's the old saying, the only way is up. Hopefully, fingers crossed for Tesla. But let's have a quick look at Tesla at the moment as it currently stands. Like I say, we looked at this yesterday. This is on a 30-minute. It closed around $172.86 per share. On a day, though, like I say, it actually had a little bit of a gain yesterday. As you can see, it's been pretty flat. But like I said yesterday, if you look back to really where it was trading at the time before this Twitter story, before Musk said he was going to buy Twitter, it was trading around $1,090 a share. So that is a dramatic fall. And it all really started from when they started talking about the acquisition of Twitter. So anyway, there we go. On another story I want to talk about, another big company, another big company. Somebody's getting in their way. Anyway, the Federal Trade Commission has filed an antitrust lawsuit against Microsoft to block the company's purchase of Activision Blizzard. Now, Microsoft was set to purchase Activision Blizzard for $69 billion. But they're blocking this. As well as that, UK and European regulators are also looking into this deal. Now, the FTC made a statement on the deal. They said the deal would enable Microsoft to suppress competitors to its Xbox gaming consoles and its rapidly growing subscription content and cloud gaming business. In other words, they're not happy with this acquisition because they say it's going to give Microsoft a monopoly on certain areas in the industry and a very unfair advantage. So this is why they're blocking it. Now, like I say, the deal itself, had it gone through, was still potentially with 50-50, less than 50%, I think now. Now the FTC has got involved. The deal would have made Microsoft the third biggest gaming company by revenue in the world, behind Tencent and Sony. Now, don't forget, Activision Blizzard, they make the Call of Duty franchise. They used to do World of Warcraft as well, but Call of Duty franchise. And it's an extremely popular video game series, the old COD games. It's very, very popular. And the concern is, obviously, if Microsoft was to purchase Activision Blizzard, it would prevent other rival consoles and other platforms like Sony PlayStation, like the Nintendo Switch, from being able to play these games. Now, Microsoft did do a deal with Nintendo for a 10-year contract for Nintendo Switch to have Call of Duty franchise for 10 years. They also made the same deal tried to make the same deal with Sony. Sony's not having it because they know this deal would, make Microsoft an even bigger competitor than it is now. And they're one of the companies who got behind the regulators to look into this deal. Now, the reason why this is so big, the Call of Duty franchise, is incredibly popular. And the last game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, made $1 billion in its first 10 days of release. So this is why it's a big deal. And this is why the FTC is involved now. And of course, obviously UK and European regulators. But let's have a quick look at Microsoft. And I also want to have a look at Activision Blizzard, because obviously this deal was announced back in January, and this is going to make a big difference to them. a lot different. Let's start off with Activision Blizzard, actually, see where they closed. Okay, as you can see, I started in January, the announcement on this deal, okay? So around January, when it was announced, look at this. Activision Blizzard skyrocketed on the back of this. Wow. Yes, indeed. 1 billion. You're talking about the COD game, yeah? It's incredible. 1 billion in 10 days. Goes to show the gaming industry is so much bigger than the movie industry nowadays. So much bigger. Like I say, so this is when the announcement of the purchase of Activision was announced by Microsoft. It skyrocketed from $61 all the way above nearly $85 per share. But like I say, since the announcement of the FTC getting involved, and it's now looking unlikely that this deal will go through, it spiked and closed lower and currently trading now around $74.68. It was before this announcement trading above the 200-day moving average. Is no longer trading above the 200-day moving average on the daily. It's now currently trading below it and finding a teeny weeny bit of support around the 50. But this is the big deal. Microsoft-wise, Microsoft didn't make much of an impact on Microsoft, this announcement, at the moment. It didn't make much of a difference on Microsoft. Closed, again, on the day with a gain of $246.76. But again, like I say, not the stock market at the moment, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. They're all under the 200-day moving average, still showing we're in sort of bearish territory. Anywho, on another story I want to briefly go over as well before we go on to the markets. The S&P, when we were talking about yesterday, whether the S&P can finally break its 5-day losing streak. Well, it did. It did end its 5-day losing streak. However, before we get the bunting out and there's much rejoicing, it's still way under that 200-day moving average. The markets are now waiting because, like I say, big week next week, which we'll talk about in a minute. The market is waiting now for the producer price index, which is coming out today at 1:30 p.m. It's a medium event. It's not usually a high class event, but because obviously it's all about inflation, and this is about inflation, okay, it's going to be a little bit more interesting than usual. So people are going to definitely be looking at it. Expectation is for it to come in slightly lower than previous at 6%. Again, this might give the market a little bit of a boost if it does. But like I say, I think the market will be holding its breath to what is coming up next week. Massive week next week, which we'll talk about in a minute. But anyway, let's have a quick look at how the S&P did. First of all, actually, let's have a look actually how it closed yesterday. As you can see, the couple of days before, a lot of this was red. A lot of this is in red. But as we can see, there was quite a few gains yesterday. Google was in the red yesterday, negative down 1.30%. But everything else, all the other stocks, a lot of stocks in the S&P did okay yesterday. Even Tesla was still down, but only down by negative 0.34%, as you can see here, only down by 0.34%, so it's not too bad. But yeah, it's a reasonable day for the S&P. Like I say, it had a 5-day losing streak, finally managed to beat it. But like I say, we'll have to see. But let's have a look at the S&P on a chart as well. Let's bring that up and see where the futures are holding at the moment. Okie dokie. This again keeping it on the daily. Like you say, it had a first day of gains, currently keeping its gains for now, finding a little bit of support, the 50-day moving average. But it's still under that really important 200-day moving average. 200-day moving average. And like I say, when it's remaining under that, we are still pretty much currently in bear market territory. If you look at the currencies at the moment as well, pretty much where we left them yesterday. Euro slightly higher on the day, still under that key area though of 1.6017, currently trading at 1.05590. Like I say, we'll be waiting for the PPI today to see if that will make a difference on that. British pound, sterling staying pretty much above the 200-day moving average, finding some resistance potentially around 123.14, currently trading at 122.52, still also above the 200-day moving average. And let's have a look at the dollar yen. I thought everybody was going to say gold then. I will look at gold, don't you worry. Again, like I say, dollar slightly on the back foot against the yen, currently trading at 136.16, above the 200-day moving average though still. So that's the key area for me, 135.03. Resistance-wise, 136.87, potentially, because that's the Fibonacci ratio of 38.2. And finally, of course, we're going to look at gold. It's 4 days of gains. 4 days against the yellow metal after 2 days of losses. One day in particular being very damaging for it. Above the 200-day moving average, so key support potentially around $1,759 an ounce. But the area for me, everybody knows what area I'm looking at. Everybody knows what area I'm interested in, what I'm looking at. And that, of course, is that key resistance level, potentially around $1,803. This metal I'll be watching closely. I do think we're going to start seeing it get its shine back at some point, certainly next year. So like I say, we're waiting for the PPI today. Other than that, we've got the US Michigan consumer sentiment coming out today, but really people can focus on PPI. But something else is happening today. And that is, of course, tixee Live presents hashtag Ask James. Now, those of you who don't know this series or new to it, this is slightly different from tixee Live. It's still broadcasted live because live means live, but these little live broadcasts, they're not so market driven. Instead, they're more focused on education based on a topic sent in by your good selves. You send me in a topic, then I create a video and I broadcast it live just for you or for anybody who wants or interested in the topic. Today's topic is introduction to trading with multiple timeframes. This will be broadcasted at 1:30 p.m. UTC. Big thanks to Geezerman18 for this suggestion. I really, really appreciate your suggestion, so thank you for that. But anyway, like I said, we got a quiet, PPI indeed, but Michigan. But next week, so I'll talk more about it later this afternoon. It's such a huge week next week. Such a massive week. It's the biggest week before the last big week before the end of the year, because look at what we've got coming next week. Just take this in. It's like a perfect storm. It really is a perfect storm. But next week, we've got US CPI, UK CPI, Fed interest rate decision, Bank of England interest rate decision, ECB interest rate decision. It's going to be massive, potentially. A massive, massive week next week. So please come and join me. I definitely will be hopefully doing a watch along for the US CPI, because that often causes fireworks. Beware. Such a huge week next week. I will probably talk a little bit more about that a little bit later today on my afternoon broadcast. But yeah, such a big week. The markets, European equities as they currently stand, FTSE currently trading slightly in the red, negative 0.07%. DAX currently trading slightly in the green, 0.9%. Euro Stoxx 50 also trading slightly in the green, not slightly in the red, actually, negative 0.05%. Don't forget, you can ask me questions anytime. Yeah, well, it's a massive week next week. It makes sense. This week's been not so financial calendar full, so it makes sense for next week to be a lot bigger, and it will be a good week. And like I say, hopefully I will be able to do the watch along for the US CPI, because I always love doing the watch alongs to CPI, because the last couple have caused an awful lot of fireworks in the market, and it's been really exciting to watch. So hopefully for that. Yeah, like I said, don't forget, you can ask me questions anytime you wish, or simply say hello, or share me your opinion. Entirely up to you. It's up to you. And don't forget, if you think of a question later, you can put it in the comments section, either on YouTube or Facebook. I will see them, and I will reply to them next time I go live on air, which of course will be at 1:30 p.m. UTC to do the hashtag Ask James episode, but also again later this afternoon, round about 3 p.m. UTC, discuss the US session and the week ahead. If there is no questions, not a problem. Don't forget, if you're watching me on Facebook and you enjoyed this little video, by all means give us a follow. If you're watching me on YouTube and you enjoyed this little video and you found it interesting, sorry, the question. Can you please tell us again when you will have your watch along? I'm hoping that the watch along it'll be Tuesday. I'll be doing the watch along. And that's going to be at 1:30 p.m. UTC on Tuesday the 13th will be the watch along. I'll tell you why it's going to be so exciting, because the very next day, the FOMC will make their interest rate decision. So we got 2 big days. We got the US CPI coming out first, followed by the Fed interest rate decision the very next day. So that's going to be great. That's going to be awesome. Potentially really, really interesting. Especially don't forget, last CPI came in so much cooler. Year-on-year 7.7%. Core came in less at 6.3. Still 6.3 though. That's still quite high. So anyway, yeah. But that definitely Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. UTC, and the US CPI. So please come and watch me with that. Anywho, Anywho, if there is no more questions, don't forget, if, like I say, if you're watching me on Facebook and you enjoyed this little video, by all means, give us a follow. If you watch me on YouTube and you enjoyed this little video and found it interesting, subscribe if you like. Hit the notification button so you know next time I'm going live. If you enjoyed this video, found it interesting, useful, and you put up with me, my over-the-top enthusiasm for the markets, I simply cannot help, then give me one of those. It's nice to know that you like what I do. I see I've got a couple of likes already, which I really, really appreciate it. I really do. Anywho, till next time, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research, do your own due diligence, and of course, know the risks at hand for entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you, trade safe.